Hello and good morning to all of you. I hope all of you are doing well and all of you are in good health. In today's class, we will discuss big data. Big data, as the name suggests, it refers to large, diverse sets of information that grows at ever increasing rates. It encompasses three essential features of data. These are the volume of information, the velocity or the speed at which it is created and collected, and the variety or scope of the data points being covered. The sources of big data may be black box data, social media data, stock exchange data, power grid data, transportation data, and search engine data. Now let us try and understand the various characteristics of big data with the help of a schematic diagram. Here are the 5 essential characteristics of big data: volume, variety, value, velocity, and veracity. Volume refers to huge amount of data. Variety refers to data of different formats from different sources. Value refers to a mechanism to extract useful data for making quality decisions. Velocity refers to high speed of accumulation of data, and veracity refers to inconsistencies and uncertainties prevailing in the data. Now let us discuss data protection principles. But before moving on to data protection principles, let us discuss some of the important steps that are involved in data processing that mandates adherence to data protection principles. A typical data processing includes collecting, organizing, structuring, storing, altering, consulting, using, communicating, combining, restricting, deleting, or destroying valuable data in order to draw certain conclusive inferences. It is very much important for all of us to ensure that these 7 principles are adhered to while processing data: lawfulness, transparency, and fairness; limiting purpose, minimizing data; accuracy, limiting storage; confidentiality and integrity; and accountability. Data controllers are also accountable for their processing. Data should be processed fairly, lawfully, and in a transparent manner in relation to the individuals. This schematic representation shows the 7 principles of data protection: lawful, fair, and transparent; purpose limitation; data minimization; accuracy; storage limitation; integrity and confidentiality; and accountability. Now let us discuss each of these 7 principles in greater detail. Now let us discuss the 7 data protection principles in a greater detail. Accountability. Data should be contextual and it should preserve integrity, significance, and value. Lawfulness, fairness, and transparency. Data should be processed lawfully, fairly, and in a transparent manner in relation to the individuals. Purpose limitation. Data should be collected for specified, explicit, and legitimate purposes and not further processed in a manner that it is incompatible with those purposes. Data minimization. Data should be adequate, relevant, and limited to what is necessary in relation to the purposes for which they are being processed. Accuracy. Data should be accurate and, where necessary, kept up to date. Every reasonable step must be taken to ensure that personal data are accurate, with regard to purpose and rectified without any delay. Storage limitation. Data should be kept for no longer than is necessary for the purposes for which the personal data are being processed. Integrity and confidentiality. Data should be processed in a manner that it ensures appropriate security of the personal data, including protection against unauthorized or unlawful processing, accidental loss, destruction, or damage using appropriate techniques or organizational measures. Now let us discuss some of the salient features of data protection principles. Data collection is only for explicit, legitimate, and specified purposes. Data processing should be relevant, limited to what is necessary, and adequate in relation to the processing purposes. Personal data collection should be accurate. Moreover, data updation is very much important as and when required. Personal data must retain in a personally identifiable form for as little time as possible, and data processing must go in such a way that it ensures proper protection or security of the personal data. Now let us discuss some of the important characteristics of big data. Big data is data that is extremely large, growing rapidly over time and with an enormous scope, that is, volume, variety, velocity, and variability. Big data can be of three possible types: structured, unstructured, or semi-structured. A few notable benefits of big data includes better decision making, improved customer service, and improved operational efficiency. Now let us see through some of the top industries using big data applications: banking and security services, communications, media and entertainment, healthcare providers, education, manufacturing and natural resources, governmental agencies, insurance, retail and wholesale trade, transportation, energy and utilities, auto driven cars, Internet of Things, marketing, and business insights. Now let us discuss some of the challenges that are involved in big data security. Now let us discuss some of the important challenges of big data security. Access without permission. Big data administrators may sometimes decide to access data without permission or without notification. Whether the motivation is curiosity or criminal profit, your security tools need to monitor and alert on suspicious access no matter where it comes from. Difficult to organize routine audits. The sheer size of big data installation makes routine security audits difficult, making it vulnerable. Requires constant update. If the big data owners do not regularly update security for their environment, they are at risk of data loss and exposure. The next big challenge associated with big data security is that newer technologies can be vulnerable. Advanced analytical toolkits for unstructured big data processing and non-relational database management systems such as NoSQL are typical examples of newer big data technologies in active development. Because of its technological limitations, it may be difficult for the security software and processes to provide protection to these new technological developments. Variable impact. Mature security tools effectively protect data ingress and storage. However, they may not have the same impact on data output from multiple analytical tools to multiple locations. These are some of the notable challenges that are involved in big data security. Now let us discuss General Data Protection Regulations or GDPR. General data protection regulations principles are regulations that outline the legal boundaries around which the data collectors can process the personal information of a subject. The seven GDPR principles ruling personal data are lawfulness, transparency, and fairness. Limiting purposes, minimizing data, accuracy, limiting storage, confidentiality and integrity, and accountability. Now let us go through personal data under GDPR. Personal data is data that relates to an identifiable living individual and includes names, email IDs, ID card numbers, and IP addresses. It also includes sensitive personal data such as genetic data and biometric data, which could be processed to uniquely identify an individual. Now let us know something about GDPR. GDPR is a regulation in EU law on data protection and privacy in the EU and the European Economic Area (EEA). It was approved by the European Union in April of 2016 and came into force on 25th May 2018. The GDPR replaces the UK's 1984 Data Protection Act and the EU's Data Protection Directives, which initially came into force in 1995, with new guidelines that are better suited to the modern technology dominated world. The GDPR's primary objective is to give control to individuals over their personal data and to simplify the regulatory environment for international businesses by unifying the regulation within the EU. It's a regulation, not a directive, and therefore it is directly binding and applicable to each member state of the European Union. Altogether, GDPR has in it 11 chapters containing 99 articles. Under the terms of GDPR, organizations have to ensure that personal data is gathered legally and under strict conditions, and those who collect data and manage it are obliged to protect it from misuse and exploitation, as well as to respect the rights of data owners or face penalties for not doing so. GDPR also provides additional rights to people who want their personal data to get deleted, provided there are no grounds for retaining it. The GDPR also makes reporting obligations and enforcement stronger, and the data breaches are to be reported within 72 hours. Failing to comply with the GDPR rules could result in a fine of up to 4% of total global turnover or 20 million euros, whichever is greater. Like GDPR in the European Union, in India we have the Information Technology Act 2000 and IT rules that deals with online data protection. While both the IT Act and GDPR have the same objective of controlling and regulating the transferring of data from e-commerce, GDPR is more concerned with safeguarding the rights of the citizens of the European Union, whereas the same is missing in the Indian legislation. Both direct that data collection should be done with legal justification and that data should be collected only for the purpose stated. While GDPR applies to data processing also, the IT Act applies only to data gathering and usage and not to processing. Data integrity, protection from unauthorized processing, accountability, fairness, and transparency are among the principles stated in GDPR but not included in the IT Act. The GDPR gives the member states the authority to set special processing requirements and list 5 additional conditions on the necessity of processing. The IT Act does not entail such requirements. Both the IT Act and GDPR requires consent before data collection and gives consent providers the option to revoke such consent. GDPR defines consent, specifies conditions for children's consent, and requires the data collector to provide evidence of the consent, while the IT Act does not. Certain provisions of Section 43A of the IT Act roughly aligns with the requirements of GDPR. Now, this brings us to the end of the second class of the fourth unit. Thank you very much for your patience listening.